Welcome, all fellow wannabes. Welcome to the show. You are listening to Game Club. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Fast. And joining me today is a first-time guest to any Wannabe Critic production. We have Rex Tucker joining us from California via Zoom chat. Rex, how you feeling, bro?
Feeling pretty good.
You feeling?
How are you?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm glad we got to do this. I'm glad you reached out, or I can't remember. I feel like we were talking about something, and I was like, dude, we should be on. We should get you on the podcast, and I'm glad we did because we don't talk a ton, but when we do, it's usually about games, and just catching up. Obviously, our wives are really good friends, and you are a geek just like I about video games. So I wanted to have you on to do a review. And what better review to do than something as simple as talking about Minecraft? So here we are. But before
Exactly.
here we are. Rex, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
What do you want to know?
Well, how old are you?
I'm 29,
Okay.
from born and raised in California, Riverside, California.
Okay.
And I would say I've played games my whole life, pretty much. Started with Super Nintendo, got every console since. Until recently, more recently, I've, been kind of more of a PC gamer. So that's kind of like my background in games.
Yeah. What do you find yourself playing the most? Are you like an Overwatch guy or like Fortnite? I mean, what do what's your like go-to game right now?
I I would say, I kind of rotate. I'm more of like a rotate. I don't like stick. I'm not one of those like dedicated people that just stick to one game and that's it. I'm
Right.
pretty open to trying new games, so I try to mix it up a lot. Like currently, it's been Sea of Thieves this past month, and Game Pass was like $1, so I wanted to try out some Sea of Thieves. I wanted to try out No Man's Sky, and I also have like a Minecraft server going with some of my friends out here, and I have a couple friends that play that like all the time right now. So
Nice. Yeah, it's
Rocket League's a big one too.
right.
Love
Yeah.
Rocket League.
I feel like that's really big out there too. And it's kind of funny. Every time I talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're thinking that this guy has just like a surfer voice, like every time I talk to this guy, it's like this is a true like California, like just chill, like easy going bro. And I'm always happy to talk to Rex because he's always got, he just puts out the chill vibe. It immediately makes you feel chill. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way as you. Like I hop around in a lot of different games, and obviously like when you want to play something for review or like we want to be review is we obviously want to be there day one for things to review stuff, but we're not quite to that point. So the best way to do it is just to talk about things. And obviously Minecraft Dungeons has been out for about a month now at this point, but yeah, man, it sounds like you and I are kind of similar whenever it comes to games. Like to hop around a lot, so that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
That is pretty dope. But as I said before, ladies and gentlemen, we are reviewing Minecraft Dungeons. But before we get into that, if you didn't know already, you're listening to Game Club as part of Wannabe Critic Productions. In our constant efforts and attempts to create quality content, we have branched off into several podcast feeds of which are available to you as the listener right now. If you want more information on those, you can head over to wannabecritic.com to hear about all of our other projects that we got going on over there, our other podcast feeds, as well as what we're cooking up on our YouTube channels, such as, the main podcast feed, like The Wannabe Critic, A Guy and His Wife, and other stuff too. We got merch, we got some other stuff over there, and it's a good time. But this particular show, Game Club, it's multi episode at times, in-depth reviews, just giving honest opinions. Whenever I listen to a review, I like to get, I want to feel a sense of like belonging a little bit, or even just like kind of I can meet that person. It's like relatable, like there's a sense of relatability to the review. I feel like a lot of times you go on IGN or other big name like Kotaku and stuff, you read their reviews and it's like, man, it's easy for you to give this game a specific score or give this game, a certain review because you got the game early, you got it for free, you didn't have to pay for it, and it's hard to take those things into consideration whenever you're trying to give a fair review of a game. And that's exactly what we try and do here at Game Club, and that's why sometimes it takes a few episodes. So buckle up, because we are here for the first episode of Minecraft Dungeons, and we're done talking about all that other crap that I was just saying. And I'm excited to talk about this one. I've been kind of primed for this one for a while. So Rex, are you ready?
Yeah, man. I'm
Okay.
ready.
So I have to tell on myself a little bit because I have not finished the game yet. I've put some time into it. It's just running a website, podcast feeds, things like that. It gets kind of difficult to put the amount of time into every game that comes out that you want to, and that's kind of the help with, I feel like that's a realistic way of looking at things too. Like, you want to play this game, but things come up. Other games come out that you want to play. And I feel like kind of taking it in chunks and really giving your thoughts as you're playing it, like, your view of the game can change so much. So whereas I've only played, 5 or 6 hours, something like that, or 3 or 4 hours maybe. Well, no, probably more than that. It's more like, I'd say it's anywhere from like 5 to 7 hours, which is a pretty good, for a game like this, I feel like it's a pretty good gauge. But I mean, I remember texting you and being all jazzed about it because we bought it the same day. And I remember you telling me you pretty much blitzed it in one weekend, right?
Yeah, I think probably about 2 sessions with my buddy. We played co-op and just busted out. We've played a lot of dungeon crawlers, so kind of just got through it.
Yeah, well, and especially since this one is kind of being touted as like baby Diablo in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Because it's really an entry to the genre, and for me, I never really played a dungeon crawler before. It always looked interesting to me. To me, the closest thing that I've ever gotten to a dungeon crawler has probably been something like Borderlands, which isn't really even a dungeon crawler, but it kind of takes those, the loot aspect and things like that.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but I mean, two different styles of games completely. So I don't know if you listen to Game Club often, Rex, but we like to do, or if you even listen to, the way we review stuff is, we like to go around the room and we like to say, hey, do we like this game? So I'm going to throw it to you since you've beaten it first. Minecraft Dungeons, do you like this game?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay. How long do you think it took you to beat it?
I want to say around 7 hours.
Okay. Did you go
anywhere between 6 and 8, actually?
Okay. Did you
Somewhere
go
around there. I didn't actually like time it or anything. But
Gotcha. Didn't keep a game clock going.
yeah.
Did you actually go back to other levels and like try and beat them on harder difficulty, or did you just try and just get through the main story basically?
Well, actually, after the first like couple levels, we just how there's like difficulties you can unlock, but you can also set the level difficulty for that map, right?
Yeah.
And so like after the first or second level, we just set it all the way.
All
Like
the
as
way
far
that it
as
would
we
let
could.
as far as you could. Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
yeah. That okay, so it was like, okay, yeah, this is too easy. You start kind of adding those damage multipliers and stuff like that, and kind of changes the way the game behaves. And I myself, I did that a little bit starting out, but I kind of wanted to unlock the hardest difficulty immediately because I'm trying to go for the platinum trophy. So there's just kind of getting used to the difficulty slowly. What I figured was probably the best way to do it. But I was kind of surprised because it would be like baby mode at first, and then you start adding a couple of those damage multipliers, and it's like, hey, this is actually a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, like that was a really that's cool that you were able to just kind of, it was a sense of you wanted to add a challenge, but you also wanted to get through it, and it sounds like you're able to do that pretty much. So that's cool.
Yeah, it actually made some of the levels pretty tough, and some of the bosses were actually really tough.
Yeah, the first
when you turn that up.
Right, yeah, the first boss, because I had my difficulty up and my recommended level was like 3 levels over or something like that, and I'm playing solo. It was like I could not beat it, and it kind of pissed me off because I had gotten to the end of the level, and now that I had run out of retries, basically I had to go to the beginning of the level, so it was like 15-20 minutes of wasted time, and it was like, man. But you want to challenge yourself, so it's like finding that kind of middle ground of how do I challenge myself, but also like how do I have a good time but not while not being too easy, you know? So we'll get into
Yeah.
a little bit more, but just for context, I wanted to tell the folks listening at home a little bit more about Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Dungeons is a dungeon crawler video game developed by Mojang Studios and Double 11 and published by Xbox Game Studios. It is a spin-off of Minecraft and was released for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One on May 26th, 2020. Wow, May 26th, almost a month ago. That's crazy at the time of we're recording this, ladies and gentlemen. It is June 19th, 2020. So it's been a while. You know, we've had this game for a while. So as I said before, you know, I don't have a ton of experience with dungeon crawlers. The whole looter shooter thing has always been a lot of fun, and I think that kind of takes concepts from the genre, you know, to bring it in there. But you've played a lot of you say you've played a lot of dungeon crawlers. So like, can you talk about some of them? Like, what's like your favorite dungeon crawler?
I think one of the most well-polished dungeon crawlers right now is probably Path of Exile.
Okay.
As far as it kind of gives you everything you could ever want out of a dungeon crawler. Um, and I've played that one quite a bit. I wouldn't say like I've played, a huge amount, but I've played a good amount. And other than that game, I've played like some older dungeon crawlers, um, some like 8-bit ones and stuff. I'm not like a dungeon crawler expert by any means, but I've
Right.
played them.
You've played like more quote unquote like more hardcore ones than something like
Yeah.
this. Okay. Now, something like have you ever heard of Wastelanders?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Okay, gotcha. Well, like or Wasteland. I'm sorry, not Wastelanders, Wasteland. You ever heard of that? By Obsidian?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so to me like a dungeon what do you classify like as a dungeon crawler? Like a top-down, you know, top-down experience where you're going, you know, you have a team of people going in, you're trying to fight bosses and loot and things like that. That's pretty common, you know. How would
Yeah.
you define a dungeon? That sounds about right.
Yeah, like pretty much just how you said it, a top down, usually co-op, not always, but usually co-op, and you're kind of like working through levels. It's not like an open map type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then the
so
loot system's pretty big.
right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I feel like a lot of games nowadays like kind of take from that genre and take from that format and kind of implement it into other game types like first person shooters and things like that. So I'm, you know, while there's a lot of quote unquote dungeon crawler things in other games, I've never really sat down to play like a true dungeon crawler. So I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts, and then I want you to kind of expound on, you know, how you felt. And ladies and gentlemen, this is of course, you know, our first review for this game. So since Rex has beaten it and was so gracious, you know, to come on the show, I wanted to kind of get his thoughts. We will be doing a little bit more, another in-depth review after I've beaten the game and the other people I have lined up, you know, their thoughts as well. But I'm going to say I had a blast. What I've played so far, it's been a lot of fun. It's been the right amount of challenge. It kind of, you know, I'm used to more complex gear systems and more complex loot systems, obviously found in other games. But it is the thing of like once you figure out how you actually upgrade your loot and like actually finding your skill trees and like realizing how all these different things have customization. Like there's actually a lot more customization than I thought that there was going to be. It does kind of open up the floodgates a little bit. I'm like, well, if this is baby mode, like how much more in depth are these other dungeon crawlers that I'm missing out on and things like that? Like how much to the next level does it take it? Because obviously, like you have your rune slots and stuff like that. You know, your enchantments you can put on your weapons. I'm thinking like, well, is there like really in-depth weapon like customization that you can have on these other dungeon crawlers to where every little thing matters, you know, that you're doing in the game, whereas this kind of feels like more of like a broad generalization of the genre, and really it does feel like kind of a way, like kind of a gateway in a sorts. And of course Minecraft aesthetic, like you're not going to get anything more like, I don't know, more aesthetically pleasing, I guess, than something like a dungeon crawler with a Minecraft effect. And even something simple as like the combat, like the way the combat feels, you know, it's very just simple combat. Close range attacks. You also have your bow and arrow and things like that, and you really can kind of make your class however you want depending on what loot you're finding, which is really nice. Um, so I feel like a lot of people, and maybe you can probably expound on this a little bit. A lot of people are kind of complaining because it's so simple, and like there's not a lot of depth to it. Um, uh, d- were you irritated? Because I remember you said you text me and you said I have a lot of thoughts about this. Like I enjoyed it, but I have thoughts. So I've kind of given how I felt. I'm enjoying it so far. I don't really see anything wrong with it, but then again, I have nothing to compare it to. So I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah. I was actually pretty excited to, hear what you had to say about it because you being like a total newbie to the dungeon crawlers, like how you felt about the gameplay and everything. And, you know, it's kind of cool to hear someone for the first time trying that type of game to kind of give their opinion. And so for me, I felt that, I said I liked this game, and I think that the uh, the gameplay was pretty good. Like it was pretty smooth. Um, I didn't have any like bugs or anything. Everything's pretty polished. With Mojang, they've done pretty good job on this. The class system felt different because normally in dungeon crawlers you have like set classes like when you're making your character. So I thought that was kind of odd right off the bat. And when you're like picking your character, it shows like a bunch of different characters that you can pick from. So I was like, oh, are these gonna have classes or something? Like because they all looked very different.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't really like that at all. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with any RPG, because I mean, essentially, you're talking about dungeon crawler as like an offshoot of an RPG in a lot of ways. It has those roots in it. In a lot of ways, like there's probably a lot of RPGs that wouldn't have existed without the dungeon crawler genre. Um, so it didn't feel weird to me because I feel like they want you to kind of feel like you can do anything if you want to. If you want,
Hmm.
and that's kind of how something like Skyrim in a lot of ways it has that immersive dungeon crawler feel to it. Like I wonder what you're gonna get out of this dungeon and stuff like that. But if you wanted to, be a one-handed mage with a really good you know, uh, one-handed combat, you could do that if you want
Yeah.
to, or restorative abilities, whatever. And I feel like they kind of tried to implement something similar here. I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but I did feel like if I wanted to, you know, uh, have a really good bow and have a really good, like whatever, like be a good mage at the same time. Like I feel like I had that diversity there. And it just made me want to explore different things. So I feel like they want you to kind of do that a little bit. And I feel like it was intended for that. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's why I think like what you said about it being like your intro to a dungeon crawler, like this is the perfect intro to a dungeon crawler. It's like, dungeon crawler light. It's not like super in depth, but it's like got enough to where, it's gonna get people interested in the genre and keep them wanting to play. I can definitely see that. For your hardcore gamer, it's not going to be their favorite, obviously.
right.
Like it's just not. It just doesn't have all of the leveling mechanics
Yeah,
and
the bells and whistles,
the
really.
yeah the intricacy to making your build. It just doesn't have that in-depth feel to it. But if you've never played a dungeon crawler, it has what you know, kind of your intro. It's not going to overwhelm you. It's
Right.
going to have things you're definitely going to like, the loot system, for instance. There's something about you can do whatever you want that's kind of cool, like you can be a warrior and then you can, you know, respec and uh, you know, you found some mage gear, and so you're just going to be more of like an archer, or use your what are they called? Your They have like totems and stuff that you can use, you like your magical items, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, like to buff your weapons and stuff like that, right?
Right. And you have like little abilities, but
Mm-hmm.
the enchanting system was cool. Like I liked that you could enchant stuff, and then if you didn't like that piece of armor, then you can unenchant it, get all your points back,
Yeah. Respec
and
it.
respec it. And so the more levels you get, um, the more enchants you're going to be able to do, so you can keep your different, items that you're getting. In the beginning, you're just like tossing, once you replace an item, you're just tossing it.
Right. Yeah, you're like, I don't need this anymore, really. I did
Hmm.
feel like, that sense of kind of getting that currency once you toss it. There was kind of like a shop. I feel like being a big part of what I like in an RPG, and I think anyone likes, is customization. And I feel like there's one shop guy where it's like, okay, if you can buy a bunch of random stuff, it never felt like I had the option to kind of go in and be like, okay, I'm specifically looking for this thing. Um,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
one.
one big problem with it.
Yeah,
It's like some people want to go into that game, and they might want to be a mage because they have this idea of dungeon crawlers, and there's always like a mage class. And I don't really know if you really have that kind of class in this game.
you really don't. Because I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of the gear you get, there's nothing really like. The only thing magey is the way it looks. I would say, like the armor you get and stuff like that.
yeah,
There's not really, and it's usually passive effects. Like even if you want to be a warrior, if you get like a piece of mage gear, you're like, oh well, if I can set people on fire whenever they get to close proximity, yeah, I'm gonna wear this, mage looking stuff. So and that's the thing that I felt like I was kind of stripped of that a little in a way, um, by
yeah.
not
That was a
being
little
able,
disappointing.
yeah, by not being able to specifically go in and say I want to buy what's the nicest sword you have. Like, is it okay? What's the nicest sword available? How much money do I have to get? Okay, I have to trade you some way for like enchantment coins or something like that. Like, okay, fine. There was no sense of I'm gonna work towards something. I'm gonna work towards whatever I'm trying to get. It was more of you kind of get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And maybe if you keep replaying this level on hard or difficulty, of course, whenever you go into a map, I will say, in exchange for the shop system, you do get on each map you go in and you see the difficulty, what's available, and you see what's available, what the available loot is that is going to drop in that specific area. So if you want to grind for a specific weapon, you can, but there lies in the catch of we're just artificially adding time onto this game, by making you grind for
Yeah.
it. There's not. And what if you get to the end of the level, and it's really hard, you almost die, whatever, and you don't get what you're looking for. That's kind of
I actually liked that it showed, which items were in which level. I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's just dungeon crawlers. Like you're just grinding for loot,
Yeah.
like a lot of times.
Right.
Like you're just
Anyone who's listening to this right now is me like, God, this guy's an idiot. um,
no, it's just part of it. It's just
right.
random, and usually a lot of times you're playing with a buddy or something, like co-op, playing with, another person or two other people. And so one thing that disappointed me with the looting system was that um, all the loot was separate, right? So me and my buddy got totally different loot. We killed a boss, like it was completely separate, except for like I think arrows and consumables like were the same. Like if I took the arrows, he wouldn't see them anymore.
Oh, gotcha.
Um, so when he would get loot that he was didn't really like want, like I was gonna like try and go more of like a tanky build, and absorb a lot of damage, and he was gonna go more ranged. There was no way to trade those items, which was a little disappointing. Um, because when you have a dungeon crawler with random loot, um, getting items that you're not gonna use, it's nice to be able to trade with the person that you're playing with, and that way you can both kind of fill your roles that you're going towards.
Right. Yeah, henceforth
So
the whole role playing experience. Yeah, so I mean, and see that's the difference. It's nice to have someone on who played co op. Because you played the whole thing co op. I'm playing solo. Um,
yeah.
so you're not able to trade items. That's a big letdown. That's a huge mechanic, a core mechanic that's missing from the game.
hmm
Do you think that's something that they could easily implement later?
Yeah, I see a lot of potential with this game, and I know that there's going to be expansions and hopefully updates and mechanics, changed because if they didn't change the mechanics, I don't think the game's gonna go anywhere. Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
kind of need that trading system. Um, Otherwise, it's gonna be more of a solo game, I think.
Yeah, and I
Um,
wonder, I wonder how much they have ready to go, because whenever you release a new IP, you don't want to necessarily put all of your eggs in the same basket at first because you don't know how successful it's going to be. So, I mean, I could see them, developers all the time, like they'll release the core game and then lo and behold, okay, yeah, like we have DLC that's coming out and all this stuff like that they've been working on, and maybe it's even been ready, whatever. I know that they're going to be updating this game. They're going to be adding free updates to it, free DLC, things like that. Um, Maybe that's a mechanic that gets implemented. Maybe they wanted to see, yes, it has Minecraft on it. It has, the name Minecraft on it, but maybe they're waiting to see what the player base is like before they start rolling out all the core mechanics from the beginning because, Minecraft is primarily like, or Minecraft in general seems like, I mean, would you call it multiplayer focused or would you say it's more solo focused?
Dungeons?
Minecraft in general.
Yeah, I think it's very multiplayer friendly because people want to build those worlds together and they want
Right.
to uh, you can PvP together. People have made all these mods where you can fight each other. There's even a like World of Warcraft type RPG server that you can join and you know, just play like a regular RPG on regular Minecraft. So it's like people can do all these crazy things with the Minecraft world, and that's what's great about it. So I would like to see some, you know, maybe mod support for this game
Right.
or just bigger updates in the future. I think it does actually have a lot of potential. So we'll kind of see where it goes. Those are just some of the negatives, that
Right.
right off the bat,
Yeah.
you kind of notice.
Yeah, totally.
But there's definitely some positives about the game.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been talking around, we've kind of been mixing in the good and the bad. Like, it seems like every good point we've made, there's been a caveat to it. Yeah, let me, as the dungeon crawler person with seniority here, why don't you, what are some of your favorite things about this game?
Um, so right away, the graphics kind of struck me as pretty good for a Minecraft game, because you're expecting, if you played Minecraft, you're expecting these not so stellar graphics,
Right.
and the way they've done it just looks good. The lighting looks great, the particle effects, it all looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. I was immediately, and I think there's a snappiness to it. And I think whenever you're trying to make an impression of, hey, like this is an intro to dungeon crawlers, you kind of have to have that addicting, snappy feeling that, as weapons get better. Like I remember upgrading my bow for the first time and like, it gets like a scatter effect or something, or getting a bow that has like a scatter effect and it's like, ooh, and it's stronger and it's like taking down enemies easier, and you kind of get that addicting feeling to it.
Yeah,
I really liked everything about the way the weapons feel because the way that something looks in conjunction with the way that it feels is a huge part of if this game's going to be enjoyable or not. And I feel just because the graphics are so sleek, and I'm playing on PS4 Pro, and I can imagine what it looks like on a PC. Since the graphics are so sleek and they do look so good, the combat doesn't necessarily have to be just out of this world. It just has to feel snappy, for it to work to match that sleek style. And I think that's something that this game does really, really well. I don't have a ton of complaints with the way it looks or the way it feels. What's something else that you really like about this game?
yeah, kind of to go along with that, like the gameplay was really smooth. I thought like you didn't really experience too many bugs or issues with um, things, gameplay and stuff like that. So I thought that was definitely a plus. Um, oh, I wanted to ask you, what type of weapon did you lean like? Did you like the combat, and what type of like weapon did you lean towards? Were you leaning towards like melee or ranged?
Yeah, so I think, going in solo, you obviously want to keep your NPCs as far away from you as possible, right? So I remember right now my current build is I have a dope bow and arrow, that does shoot like, I think it shoots like 5 or 6 arrows out at a time or something like that. So you can kind of keep that going as your range. I just pretty much engage as soon as possible, and then I also have gear on that if I do kind of get overwhelmed, um, they catch on fire if they get close to me. So playing
Yeah.
solo, I think I leaned more towards ranged because I felt like because you have endless heals as long as you time it right. So I was always kind of timing the precision of, okay, I have X amount, I have 10 seconds basically to get from A to B. There's 20 guys in here. I'm going to try and, just kind of defray their health as much as possible with my arrows. And then if they get close to me, I use one of my skills. Or if I start to lose ammo, or not ammo, if I start to lose health, I'll just, I'll wait till I'm in the red basically, and then heal. So just trying to manage all those things. I feel like ranged is something I'm leaning more towards on my playthrough, and it's been really fun. So
Yeah, I thought the combat was pretty decent. Um, I like how it felt. I like that the different weapons had different ranges and different knockbacks, and certain weapons would stun a little bit more. Um, I was going more melee, so I was just trying to get, the biggest sword or whatever.
right.
And seeing seeing all the different types of weapons was cool. Like they have like a mace you can get, and it's
Ooh.
more like AoE damage, and
Okay.
like it has more knockback and stun or something. So I think they did well with the weapons and the enchantments. I thought that was a positive. Um, you got like 3 tiers of enchantments, and I only unlocked the first 2 tiers because I think the other ones come with harder difficulties
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and higher levels. Um, but I liked the variety in the enchants. That kind of gave it some depth, and a little bit more uniqueness in your playstyle. And so I thought that was a positive. I'm trying to think what else that I really liked about the game.
Yeah, you put a pin in that. Put a pin in that, and keep
Yeah,
thinking about those things, because I mean, as I said, this is kind of like an initial reaction, and really, you beat the game, but you still only played the game for about 8 or 10 hours, right? So that's usually a pretty good gauge of if you would recommend this game to somebody, or really you can get a good gauge of how you feel about the game, and that 5 to 10 hour period, you have a pretty good flavor of what it is. But yet, you haven't really played on the harder difficulties as much, but you have enough to know how you feel about the game. Really quick,
yeah.
I have a couple of things I'd like to see them implement, and then we'll kind of go back to you really quick. Unless you have, do you remember another thing that you really, really liked about it?
Um, I thought the procedural, level design was good.
Yes, I did like that. How every time, like, you
Yeah,
think you might have an area mapped out in your mind, but really you don't, because it's different each time. Like, the basic idea is the same, but yeah, like, I really liked that. That was cool.
the boss fights, like some of them were pretty good. Especially I liked the last boss fight. It was pretty fun. The last couple ones.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about that boss fight, because a trophy I have to get is like beat him on the hardest difficulty available, but I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, so I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do that solo. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, he was actually pretty tough. He was definitely the hardest one, and not to give any spoilers for you, but
Well, I
it was
appreciate that.
it was a fun boss fight, I'll say
A spoiler-free review, ladies and gentlemen.
that.
So you liked the game overall. You had a few nitpicks with it. We're gonna have you. I'm gonna give my score, here in the next few minutes, and I'll have you give your current score. And if you'd like, as DLC and updates come out, we can kind of play this game, and kind of review this game at more as more stuff comes out. And as I said, we're gonna do another base review, a few weeks from now and things like that. But a couple of things I'd like to see them implement. The biggest one is one that's kind of a no-brainer at this point, especially for a game like this, which is crossplay. There should be no
Yep.
reason. There should be no reason for a game like this where, I can't play with where I should be able to play with Rex from my Nintendo Switch or my PlayStation on his PC. Like, there's no reason that shouldn't work. The mechanics aren't that much different, from those two platforms for a game like this. Period. I mean, just it
I have a
shouldn't.
question about that.
Go ahead.
Minecraft in general, can you play like PlayStation 4 Minecraft? Can you play with someone with an Xbox?
I don't. I remember.
Because I know that you can cross-play with the Windows version of the game with Xbox, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure like with PlayStation
Yeah, so if I remember it right, I'm pretty sure every single platform can do crossplay except for PlayStation.
and Switch probably, right?
Yeah, and I think I don't know. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure no, because yeah, like I can play with my friends on Xbox from my Switch. I've done that before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah. Then yeah, there definitely should be a crossplay. Like that's where games are going, right?
yeah, I mean, we just saw at this point, it's been yesterday, because we're recording this June 19th, 2020. Yesterday's EA Play, pretty much every single thing that they announced was crossplay. I think that's really kind of where things are going is crossplay.
Squadrons.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Um, but yeah, it just feels like something. I mean, come on, Minecraft Dungeons, like Minecraft, like we should all be able to play this together. But I don't know, that's the
Yep.
biggest thing I'd like to see implemented. I feel like it probably will be at some point, but
I have to 100% agree with you there.
yeah. But that's really the biggest thing. Obviously, we'd like to see them implement a trading system. Obviously, I want to see them continue to just make it. It's a $20 game. And I realize there's only so much you can do, but at the same time, your Xbox Game Studios, like,
It's 30, right?
no, it's 20. I'm pretty sure.
Dungeons?
I'm pretty sure it's 20. Am I wrong?
I'll pull it up right now.
All right, you fact check me. He's TikToking.
Oh, I was looking at the Hero Edition. My bad.
Oh, don't you ever freaking question me again, all right? No, I'm just kidding.
You're the boss, man.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean it's a $20 game. Whenever you're Xbox Game Studios, I understand you got to be, you have all the money in the
That makes
world,
more
but
sense now, actually. I
yeah,
was thinking it was a $30 game. I was like, I would feel a little robbed if I bought this.
yeah, at full price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean $20. The experience I've had right now, if I never played the game again, I'd be like, well, that was a fun 5 or 6 hours. That's an evening of entertainment. But this has a lot of replayability in my opinion so far, and it's been kind of cool to see like if I'm high enough level to go back to a level and do it on harder difficulty, with different gear and things like that. Like I love stuff like that. So I really like this game so far. I'm glad that it's critical reception. I think it's kind of gotten like 7s across the board. I don't know what it's sitting at on Metacritic right now. I'm gonna check really quick. Checking Metacritic right now. Minecraft Vamp.
You check that Metacritic.
That's right. I'm going to. Minecraft Dungeons Metacritic. Okay, so on Metacritic, it is sitting for Xbox. If my internet will load, good lord. Okay, yeah. So Minecraft Dungeons is sitting on a 73 on Xbox One.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
haven't
has.
looked at any ratings yet.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's to be expected. It's kind of spread across the board. It has a 73 Metascore. The user score overall is 8. Seems to be the general consensus. On PC, it's at a 70 with the user score being 6.4. On PS4, looks like on PS4. I guess it doesn't have a Metascore right now, but it has a 6.2 user score, but no Metascore for PS4.
Yikes.
That's weird.
That kind of makes sense though, right? Like PS4's got a bit more hardcore gamers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it has a 70 on Metacritic for stinking Switch and a 7.4 user score on Switch. I'd be curious to see how it runs on Switch. I thought, why do that to myself? I feel like, I don't know. The games I usually play on Switch are Nintendo exclusives, anyways, first party titles. So I don't see myself
Yeah.
playing. I want to invest time into games I'm actually gonna play on Switch, and play on the console of choice. But it was the weirdest thing ever, though. Whenever I booted up this game and saw the Xbox Game Studios on my PlayStation, like it just kind of clicked for me in that moment. Like Xbox isn't really focused as much on selling you their console anymore. I don't think they just want you to buy their games. Which is kind of interesting.
You know
But
what's cool though? You buy on Xbox, and if you buy the digital copy, I think you can like install it on PC.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, and that's the thing too is a lot of games nowadays, that come out on Xbox or available on Xbox, like you can do that, and that's really cool. And that kind of goes back to what I'm saying is they're not as focused on hardware anymore. Like if they can get you as a PlayStation player to buy their games on your console, like it becomes about software at that point. Software and Game
Yeah.
Pass. So I definitely. Oh, well, this game's already on Game Pass, so there you go. And that's what you were saying is you got the dollar Game Pass, so you actually got this game for a buck pretty much, since you had it on Game Pass,
Yeah,
right?
and I found out that, that whole like your Xbox account links with your PC account, and I was like, oh, I found out like, oh, I already have Cuphead. So I was like, because I bought it on Xbox,
Right,
and then so I just downloaded it on my PC the other day and was playing it.
right. Well, I feel like if this particular review has probably run its course, unless you have anything super more that you'd like to kind of dive into or talk about. Is there anything else that we're missing on these initial reactions / first playthrough?
Yeah, you know, I just think it could have used a little more in depth to keep me more hooked. I think I'll probably come back to it at some point and, you know, try to grind out some more levels and get to the harder difficulties. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just more in depth.
Yeah.
It just needs something.
Yeah, it's missing a little bit of something for somebody who's played something more in depth before. So
Right. For beginners, great game.
yeah, and that's the thing is for me, I'm having a really good time with it, But I can even see just as a gamer and someone who's played a lot of RPGs and just plays a lot of games in general. I see that there are things, the polish is there, and there's not really a reason for these things to not be there, aside from the fact that it's $20. And it's like, how much work do we really want to put into this thing and all this other stuff? So I feel like it's
Yeah.
about time probably to give it a score from you, and I'll give it my current score right now. But what would you give this scale of 10? 10 being like near perfect.
Initially I was gonna give it a 6. Um, and a lot of that had to do with the price and I feel like lack of content. But also I thought it was $30. I didn't realize it was 20. So that being said, um, from a, more hardcore gamers perspective, I would probably give it a 6.5.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's a fair review from you. For me right now, it's one of those things like I will not listen to this game. I'll put, and the sound design is awesome. Like the sounds are funny. Like it is a funny game. It kind of has those classic Minecraft, those classic
Yeah.
Minecraft sounds and stuff like that. For me, this is a game I'm gonna put a TV show on. Like if I'm trying to get caught up on something, like for the Wannabe Critic, I'm going to be listening to an album. I'm gonna be doing something in the background. This is a perfect game for that. Um,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I was realizing this, like I was catching up on podcasts and playing it, and then a podcast that I was listening to while I'm playing the game, they're talking about Minecraft Dungeons, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a perfect podcast game. You know, you just catch up on your podcast and play that." And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing that right now." You know, and it's perfect for that. That being said, I do think that there's some, just some quality of life things that need to be implemented, especially if you're going to try and draw in a more hardcore audience. I don't know. I feel like there's things that are missing for sure that I can see the criticism. That being said, though, I think it's a lot of fun so far. I'm looking forward to getting through it. I'm having a good time with it. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10. I think it's solid, but definitely there could be room for improvement. I don't know if it's ever gonna be to the point of, a 10 out of 10. I could see them adding like an expert mode or something like that to where it does feel like a more traditional dungeon crawler, things like that. But I don't know. I don't see this game. I feel like it kind of riding that wave, and I don't think your score is going to change. I don't think my score is going to change. So right now it sits at an 8 out of 10 from me and a 6.5 from Rex, the Dungeon Master. So there you have it, folks. There you have it.
Dungeon Master. I like that.
There you go, the Dungeon Master himself. Rex, this was a lot of fun, man. I was glad to have you on the show. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Was
I
this
feel like I'm part of the club now.
Yeah, you are. Welcome to the club, bro. Welcome to the club. We will definitely have to have you on for another episode, and maybe, you can recommend something for us to play, or we can talk, and figure out.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to request something for me and Rex to talk about, or anyone else who's part of the club, we would definitely appreciate it. If you want to buy a t-shirt from us or something like that, that'd be kind of dope. We have them at wannabecritic.com. We have a merch section if you want to check that out. It takes you to Teespring. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Game Club. We really appreciate all the support that you give us. Definitely let us know how we're doing. You can email us at geeklybiweekly1@gmail.com. You can follow us on any of the social media platforms at The Wannabe Critic. Rex, do you have any content you want to share? Anything that you want to put out there?
No, I'm good.
You're straight? All right.
I'm straight. I like doing, this review was pretty cool because I feel like it made me want to actually finish the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fun part of podcasting, man. Like having
Right.
conversations like this is because, even if only 10 people listen to this episode or whatever, it's like just being able to sit down with a buddy and like talk about something and have fair critiques of a game from a consumer standpoint of, we bought this game with our money. Like, we've spent time in the game. What about this game makes me want to or not want to put more time into this thing? And being able to record that and share it with other people, or even just have that discussion with another person, it can make you think all kinds of things about a game.
Yeah,
and I mean,
it's pretty cool.
Even me just talking about it, I'm like, man, I really want to get back to it as soon as possible and finish it, and
I'll come back to it for sure.
Yeah, so we'll be talking maybe whenever the DLC drops. You and I can have another one-on-one and kind of give our thoughts about where the game was and where it is, at that point in time. So, but yeah, totally. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We're gonna sign off. Thank you for tuning in again. Thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. Say goodbye, Rex.
Peace.